Ladies and gentlemen, my thoughts on Friday Night Smackdown episode 34. Honestly, Roman Reigns is kicking off Smackdown was great. Everything Reigns did at this point was fire. He has a star power that absolutely no one else on the roster can come closer to duplicating. And everything he is involved in is must-see TV. This was no different. There was a maintenance to his voice as he addressed the Usos, almost making the audience want to see Jimmy and Jay lose to see what happens. Now, more importantly, the head of the table elevates the tag titles matches significant simply by issuing a single warning to the Usos. More than anyone in creative has done for those same titles in years. Now, Mysterios versus the Usos wasn't really too bad. Any match with this talent involved was destined to be damn good. And this did not disappoint, even as the commercial break threatened to derail its overall quality. Mysterio is a babyface in peril, and Dominique receiving a hot tag is a formula that works for the champs. While the challengers picked right up where they left off over a year ago, the last time they competed with each other. The Usos following to get the job done will earn the wrath of Reigns. But the fact that the commentary team essentially pointed out Jimmy's shoulder being off the mat as the referee counted 3 gives them an out. Rather, that is enough to calm the fury of the big dog remains to be seen. Now, finally, the SmackDown brand has done an excellent job representing its tag team division as something special. After months of repetitive matches and lackluster creative, it feels like a major element of what Fridays are trying to accomplish. Now, Reigns' reaction, Caleb Braxton interview, Seth Rollins, my thoughts on those. Honestly, Reigns lashed out at his cousin, as expected, as we all saw last night, but he laughed things off by the end of the promo when it became clear Jay was still pledging his allegiance to the head of the table rather than his brother Jimmy. That was the biggest takeaway and something that should weigh heavily on the storyline moving forward as Jay tries to regain his brother's support. Now, the Rollins segment was absolutely meaningless. I said this on Twitter as well. Absolutely meaningless, and it accomplished nothing. Again, the Rollins segment was absolutely meaningless and accomplished nothing, which seems suspect for a star of the former WWE and Universal Champions stature. Now, Gable offering manageable service to the Street Profits was interesting, in that it will certainly create questions about a certain tweet that featured Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford with Raw's MVP. Might see the former tag champs be undergoing an attitude change and seeking assistance as the losses begin to mount. I don't know. Guess we'll find out. It was nice to see WWE further the above stories with these short, sweet fragments. Hopefully, it is something it does better and more frequently as it finds ways not to overexpose talent through weekly repetitive matches. Now, my thoughts on Carmella versus Liv Morgan. And Morgan cannot catch a break, man. Honestly. Now, first her singles push last year came to an abrupt halt. Then her run with Wyatt overwhelmed. Thanks in a large part to a creative team that never really got behind them. Now in her first opportunity to make an impression as a newly singles competitor again, she loses in what amounted a little more than a glorified squash match. Oh, really? Oh, really, Bruce and Vince? Yeah, sure thing. The New Jersey native has a hell of a story and an incredibly frustrating history with WWE Creative. As much as it would be nice to see her finally enjoy the push she has worked for so hard, it does not seem to be in the cards. Unfortunately, I really hate to say this, folks. At least for now, as WWE officials appear more interested in reining Carmella's push, as evidenced by the efforts the creative team went to put her over Friday night. Now, there was not much to the match which saw limited offense from Morgan before Carmella suddenly put her away with submission with little story to invest in. Man, this show last night was awful, man. It really was. I don't know how anybody watches this and says, I don't know how anybody would watch this week's episode of Smackdown and say Smackdown was great, man. I don't know about that, man. I don't know. I can't say that. I would have to, unfortunately, say the opposite. Now, the Bayley and Belair segment wasn't really that good for the simple fact that the idea that the SmackDown Women's title is now at the center of the feud that steams from the babyface taking exception to the heel's laugh is absurd. Now, their match will be excellent. I will say that. But especially considering Bayley's experience in a big match situations and Belair's tendency to perform up to the moment, Creative has taken a nosedive of late, simulating in a fairly bad promo segment. This was fucking awful, man. The tag team title match announcement was to be expected and puts the champions in a cinematic position, giving them an out if and most likely when they drop the title. Oh, man. Finally, the Profits versus Alpha Academy may not be the flashlight program, but it gives them something to do in between feuds, I guess. I don't know. Shinsuke Nakamura versus Corbin wasn't really what we all expected to be. This feud so far has been absolutely boring. Nobody cares anymore. I know I don't. WWE is really out here trying to convince us all that Nakamura can't beat Corbin on his own. If that isn't insulting, then the idea that Nakamura needs both to stay over and relevant sure is, man. And you know what? For a show that has repeatedly done more good than bad over the last 10 months, its use of the King of Strong Style remains one of the biggest head scratches. Unfortunately, it does not appear as though that pattern of misuse is anywhere near over as WWE officials appear far more interesting and bold in what he brings to the show than the veteran competitor who introduced him to the masses in the first place. Now, the Intercontinental Championship match. That match. Man, I don't know, man. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of the Intercontinental Championship match when this video gets published to YouTube. Because here are my full thoughts on the Intercontinental Championship match. Now, honestly, folks, to tell you the truth about it, it wasn't too bad. But then again, this was a relatively one-sided match, which can be obstructed to the pre-match assault by Aziz. Now, Cruz retained last night in true heel fashion. I will say that. By beating a guy already felt by injury, and Owens looked sympathetic for making a go of it despite the agony he felt. Now, more interesting than the match itself was Zayn attacking Otis and keeping that particular feud alive. Now, with nothing else more presenting for those particular characters to do. Now, there are far worse options than continuing a feud that has always delivered Super B in-ring results. And then we got the Smackdown Tag Team Championship rematch that the Usos asked for. Now, honestly, I don't know why they booked this match again on SmackDown. That's just creatively lazy, man. That was absolutely nauseating, creatively lazy, man. It really was. Really is. Anyways, folks, my thoughts on this rematch, man. Honestly, this was a much weaker match than the opener was Rescued by Reigns. Display of brutality as he sent a message loud and clear to his cousin. Now, while Jimmy isn't about hearing that noise, Jay remains servant to the head of the table, torn between his twin and the success Reigns has brought him. Now, it is the best story in wrestling and a major reason SmackDown has received such a positive response. The positive here was that Reigns' involvement with single-handed elevated the segment. That's the positive thing about it. So that is my thoughts on SmackDown episode 34. If you enjoyed hearing my thoughts on SmackDown episode 34, hit that thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down. And I got another video that I'm going to be recording. It's going to be a video of me giving you my thoughts on AEW Dynamite. That's coming up next right here on the IWN Wrestling News and Gaming YouTube channel. But I call it the IWN channel. But see you on the next video, folks. The video I'm recording is going to be my last video. Be sure you watch it and give it a thumbs up.